I did not lose out on where I came from. I always dressed like where I came from, you know, and to the point that every day I was going to lecture, I was always dressed properly up, even with a hat. And people would always ask me, fellow Nigerians ask me, "Na party they go? Are you going for a party?" Understanding that the world is in need of spice, you know, and and I'm not surprised that Afrobeats or Nigerian gospel is doing well, because what's your plan? I said I want to go do a PhD. The PhD say you Nigerians are always just reading too much. Don't you know education is an investment? I was like, hang on. I went on to start managing another record label called Dome Records. All this was happening while I was doing my first degree.
Right.
You know?
Oh wow.
My high points in that job was that I organized what's called a talent hunt in 5 universities across the southeast of Nigeria. Welcome everybody to the Love Family Podcast. This is another amazing episode, and I, as expected or as anticipated, the essence of doing this is to create content or have healthy conversations that would be a blessing to families. And the whole aim is that families remain knitted together forever. So, but this time around, we're going to do a little shift or twist. As you can see, I'm sitting on this side of the table. And I have my amazing, wonderful, ever, but I don't know what to say. Let me not go and speak the English, I don't know. You know, I have the amazing Tolu there, you know, so she's going to be more like doing the questions, and I take on the answers, you know. So this episode is more like getting to know who we are. Why love? Sorry, today my wife couldn't make it because I'd love her to be here, but in the future she'll get to be here. But getting to know who we are, that's the host of this program. Getting to know why we do what we're doing. Getting to know what this program is about. Just getting to know us in general, and perhaps will help our audience or help the you guys have a deeper understanding of who we are, our personality, and what we're all about, and what is intended. Because when the purpose of a thing is not known, they say abuse is inevitable. So without further ado, I'll just pass it over to the amazing Tolu. Can I put your hands together for her as she comes on? Thank you very much.
That was an amazing intro. Thank you so much for having me on board. I'm really excited to record this episode with you. I think it's very important that the audience know the man behind the Love Family Podcast. I think it's really smart that you're doing this. But before we delve into it, how does it feel to be on the other side? I think you recorded around 5 episodes now.
Yeah.
So what's the feeling like? Are you feeling more relaxed? Like you haven't got to do much thinking about the questions, or is it actually more tense to be on that side?
I think because we chat a lot. Yeah. You understand? So at least an average of once a week, you know, in church to be precise. Yeah. Before people start thinking.
Where are we chatting?
Where are we chatting? We chat a lot, and every time that we're chatting, you know, it's always amazing. Always like, I think because I kind of know your person very well, so it's not seeming to me like I'm tense and everything. And also because I've done public speaking for a long time. Okay. So I don't think I'm like nervous. Okay. I don't know why.
I actually meant tense in terms of you're not in control as such. So basically what I've inferred from that is you're comfortable with relinquishing some control, which tells us a little bit about your person. And I think the fact that you've brought someone else here probably shows that side to you, which is great.
Sure.
Excellent. Yeah, really excited for this conversation. So I think let's start with something of an icebreaker, right? Something to get to know you a little bit, and then we'll delve into the more serious questions. Okay. So my icebreaker question for you is, if you could have dinner with any historical figure, living or dead, who would you choose and what would you talk about?
Living or dead?
Yeah.
One, I think I would love to have dinner with some of the...
One person. You can only choose one person, yeah. We're going to make it hard. One person. They can be alive or they can be dead.
I think I'd love to have dinner with. I don't know their names. I've not done a research on them. But one of whoever, like for South Korea, you say, I've forgotten his name.
Is it the president?
The former one, the one that brought the revolution to South Korea. I also remember his name. If I remember, I'll tell you.
Yep.
Yeah. So just like you say Ghana, you'd say Kwame Nkrumah. If you say South Africa, you talk about Nelson Mandela. But first, in Japan, I'd love to have a dinner with one of the foremost leaders or whoever they class as their leader. And
that's interesting.
Dating back into 500 years ago, I would love to. The reason being that I'm fascinated by the level of transgenerational businesses that Japan has, and they're number one in the world. So followed by America, and they have businesses that have stayed over 500 years old. So I'm interested to know what the leadership had in mind that they were feeding onto the people that made the people grow businesses or that such that they are passed it on to almost 5 or 6 generations. And like you all know, China copied Japan, understand?
Right.
And a lot of the technology that we're enjoying in America back in the days was all Japanese. Even now as we speak, they're leading in the car industry and some other. So I'd love to speak with the leader or whoever was their Winston Churchill or whoever was their Nnamdi Azikiwe or whatever of their time. I'd love to sit down with him and have a dinner. I know what's in their mind.
That's a very interesting perspective. I think the first thing for me is there's clearly an interest in politics, but also business and entrepreneurship, but also transgenerational, I guess, impact as well.
Yes.
And I guess if I'd asked you to choose multiple people, you probably would have then gone to each country. But Japan, you singled it out because you feel like they have basically led some of the technology revolution. That's really insightful. Thank you for sharing that.
And that was, I just thought about it now. It's not like I didn't know you were going to.
Oh yeah, so just so people know, this is like I didn't tell him what that question was going to be beforehand. So that was really good. So now let's learn a bit more about you.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. I know quite a bit about you because I've known you for years, but how do you introduce yourself to people? How would you like to introduce yourself to your audience?
Okay, I like to be known as Onyekwelu. Igwe, Ilo, Onyekwelu to be precise. And when people ask me, what's your name, especially in this part of the world, I say Onyekwelu. I said, no, I want a shorter name. I said, sorry, I don't have a shorter name. And they said to me, so what do I call you back? I said Onyekwelu. They said, oh, your name is a bit long. I said, my name is shorter than a lot of Welsh words. And they're like, yeah, I said, that's true, that's correct. I said, my name is shorter than saying Connecticut. I said, oh, that's true. And I'll say Mississippi. Or say, I said, my name is actually easier than Martina Labratilova. They said, they did not calm down.
Yeah.
And I said that my name, you could just break it down and say, Onyekwelu.
Easy.
They're like, oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
So that's my name. I don't have an English name, by the way. Onyekwelu, from, go ahead.
What does that mean? Tell us.
My name means who believes.
Right, okay.
Or who agrees. I think at the time when I was born, there was my grandfather was blind when my dad was 9 years old, and my dad basically became an adult at a very, 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 very young age. So and there was a lot of poverty around. So and my dad, by the grace of God, ended up becoming a very successful entrepreneur. And it was a case of when I was born, my grandfather gave that name to the premise that who would ever believe that this family that was sent to that the lights were turning down, never get to a point that will be this successful to the point that will have a boy cry in the compound.
That's powerful.
You understand? Yeah, so that was the inspiration behind my name.
Okay, excellent. And carry on to say where you're from.
Yeah, so I'm from Nigeria, to be precise. And in Nigeria, I'm from Enugu State. I'm from a local government called Obu Local Government. My town is called Isawa. Wow,
you're really well informed of
in case people
origin.
Are wondering, people wonder where I'm from, so my village is quite easy to find. I grew up in Kaduna in Nigeria, It's not northern Nigeria, so my house is not amazing. So no need of asking me. People get to ask me that. My second, I had all my education in Nigeria up to university level. Then I came over to the UK to do my master's degree to be precise in Wales, Pontypridd. So one of the amazing things about my time in Wales was my identity. I did not lose out on where I came from. I always dressed like where I came from, you know, and to the point that every day I was going to lecture, I was always dressed properly up, even with a hat. And people would always ask me, fellow Nigerians ask me, now party they go, are you going for a party? Why are you always dressed like this? I said to them, this is who I am, you know, and that's just who I am. I like to represent, not trying to show up, but I just try to be myself. Because if we look at Mahatma Gandhi, at some point, he told the Indians to stop wearing Western outfits, T-shirts and shirts. And that's why today you see them in the streets of London, New York or America, wherever, still tying those things around them.
Sorry.
Because there was a revolution against Western outfits. You know, it's not wrong to wear jeans or T-shirts and all that. But me, I like to have a blend or mix. And like you see me on Sundays, I just keep to my stuff.
Your native.
Yeah, that way, yeah. Irrespective of the weather. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Thank you for that.
Really insightful answer. You seem to have a very strong sense of your identity, and even beyond that, you have done a lot from the answers you gave to ensure that you've kept it and you've actually not, relegated it. Even when, you said you moved from Nigeria to the UK, completely different part of the world. What is the thing that has driven you to represent, to feel that like you want to represent, you feel really proud of where you're from, and you want to continue to uphold that, even where you could say that moving here and you spent probably the better part of your life here, what has continued to ground you in your culture, in your identity, in your origin? I think
I've spent more time in Nigeria than here.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Yeah, so I think maybe I've been here for, let's say, from 2009.
Okay.
So what keeps me going is because I listen to Joyce Meyer, I'm sure you know her, and she talks about her voice. And sometimes if you don't see her face speaking and she listens to a podcast or audio version of her, you think she's male.
Really?
So her voice is different. It doesn't give out that she's actually a female, kind of. So she was a bit wondering. She kept wondering, I said, oh Lord, why did you give me the kind of voice and all that stuff? So Alyssa, she said one thing that was striking. She said that that God gave her the understanding that if everybody sounded the same way, then the world would be very boring. Yeah. You understand? So God gave the unique person. Look at that guy from Australia, Nick Vujicic or whatever, the guy with no arms and no legs. You understand? So imagine maybe if he had everything, he might not be this popular. Understand me? So, and there are different people, and some people are amazing. Just by hearing their voice, you can know who they are. If you listen to Nelson Mandela, just by hearing his voice, or Winston Churchill, you can just know this person is speaking. So I think, and if you look at movies like Madagascar, especially the Madagascar 2, the one where they went to Europe, I don't know if you watched it with the where they're chasing them in France. You could see the beauty of different parts of the world. One of the characters would be having a Mexican accent, another one have a French accent, another one. So it gave the flavor. If all those characters were all American accent, it would be okay. But when they put other accents, it was amazing. Like the King Julian is, I think, had an Indian accent. I don't know. So what drives me is an understanding that the world is in need of spice. And I'm not surprised that Afrobeats or Nigerian gospel is doing well. You can see what's called Chandler Moore. So he had a song with Omemma on it. So if we were not proud of where we come from, then he would not consider having that track on it. I've seen Donny McClurkin do a song, a Nigerian song. I've seen Ron Kennedy do a Nigerian song of their own. So it's just knowing fully well that the world is spicy. Say, for instance, I saw somebody put up something on Facebook saying, why is it that when somebody asks you, what do you have, when a so-called Caucasian person, or not only say white, but Caucasian person asks you, what did you have for breakfast? Why do you get to tell them I had beans cake, or I had cassava flakes, or I had this? Why don't you just say say it as it is. So pizza is Italian.
Yeah.
Pasta is Italian. And we have other things like burrito is Mexican. So they keep their names and they call their names what it is. So why don't you just tell them I had egusi soup and pepper? Understand me? Or I had ugali. Just say it as it is. And before you know anything, just like the way jollof rice now has gone viral, like everybody talks about jollof rice. We should just be ourselves. That's basically I think what drives me is just knowing that the world needs flavor and needs people to be proud of who they are, you know. So that's basically, and sometimes let's add this in. I think one of the reasons why people, when they come here, because I remember when I came to uni here, not long, 6 months after when I came in, some people I said putting on British accents. There's nothing wrong with it if you can put it on, it's up to you. Especially those people like you that came here very, very young. You know, but people like us that came here when we had already done a major part of our time in Nigeria. And they put up accent. I said to them, oh boy, why you talk like this now? Why are you talking this way? I said, you want to hear what they talk. In other words, they don't hear what we're saying. I'm like, okay. But me, I've never gotten to a point where they say they don't understand me. So one day, the lady working on my CV, I went to CV clinic in uni, and she said to me, and at some point I said to her, please, what part of everything that we've discussed after like maybe an hour, don't you understand? She said, I understand it very well. I said, really? She said that matter of fact, she even understands me more, and with all due respect, she understands me more than some Welsh people.
That's interesting.
And maybe if possible, more than some Scottish people. And she's English. You get it? So it's just us being proud of who we are, knowing fully well that this, irrespective of how you sound, you know,
or look, or
how you look, or
what
whatever,
your name is.
the world needs it. That's it.
That's powerful. I think that's definitely needed, especially as the world continues to become more globalized. I think it's important that we are grounded in our roots so as to ensure that we are still well represented. That's an amazing insight. So we're going to be moving on into your career and background now, but maybe just start by helping us understand, what did you study at university and what have you done since then in terms of your career and your experiences?
Thank you for that. I think my first degree was in Nigeria, to be precise, Enugu, a university called Enugu State University of Science and Technology. My first degree was in business administration. That ended shortly around maybe 2005. What I did was called in Nigeria a mandatory called National Youth Service Corps.
Right, okay.
And so I was posted somewhere in a state called Kogi State. And I was repatriated or transferred to Abuja. That's where I served in my father's company, to be precise, for family reasons also. Then after that, I worked with my dad a couple of times, you know, and shortly, 2009, so he asked me to go do a master's. You know, so I came into the UK and did a master's in Wales, so like I mentioned earlier. And it's in a town called Treforest, very close to a place called Pontypridd. You know, it's not too far from Cardiff. It's about 20-something minutes train from Cardiff or so. So in a university called University of Glamorgan. Now, I don't know what it's called. I think it's called University of South Wales because it merged with other universities. So my course was International Business and Entrepreneurship. Right. So that's what I did. Then after that, I've done so many other things. I also did theology. I don't know if I mentioned that to you before.
I think you did.
Bible school for 1 year.
Yeah.
You know, in Leicestershire.
Was this whilst you were studying? Did you combine it with your university stuff?
I'd finished.
Oh, right. So you did
the church where I attended, big shout out to them, All Nations Church in Cardiff. The leadership, Kerry Jones, sent me to this school, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to my life. You know, I know I've done Bible school in Winners Chapel, you know, but this was also different and it was also added spice. So that's that for my educational background. I think I stopped there. I think, let me just say this. I remember when I wanted to go and do a master's in Harvard, I was pushing on MIT or something. Because somebody asked me, why do you want to go and do a master's? What's next for you? I said, I'm going to do my PhD, sorry. So my dad was pushing for it as well. Right, so, okay. And I met this lady in church and she asked me the same question because she always knew I was a student. And I would take the bus and the coach and come to London and the Winners Chapel in London. And she said to me, so now that you're done with university, what's your plan? I said, I want to go do a PhD. She said, PhD. She said, you Nigerians, you're always just reading too much. Don't you know education is an investment? I was like, hang on. You know, there's how God, when God when you hear from Christ, you just know. It doesn't necessarily need to come from the altar. You understand? So she just said, don't you guys know that education is investment? That you have done your first degree, have you gotten a return on your investment? Now you have done your second degree. Have you gotten a return on your investment? Now you have to go and do the third one.
That's
You should have gotten a return on your investment before you can consider going to the third one. It was like a light bulb, and instantly, there and there, that PhD idea just died straight.
Right, that's interesting.
So even though my dad was pushing for it, then another thing again was I had another mentor of mine. He called me and I said, "Oh, now you're done your masters. What's your next?" He's a billionaire. You understand me? I said to him, "I want to go to masters, a PhD." He said to me, "You want to become unemployable?" I said, thinking about it. He said, "Yeah, whoever in the work in the place, so they don't even have a master's degree, and they will employ you as a PhD. Except you want to go and be a university lecturer." You know, so that made me stop everything academic there because I took those advices. So career-wise, like I said, I work in my dad's company growing up. Before then, I'd done sales, marketing, all kinds. I used to be an artist manager. You know, I managed the likes of people that in Nigeria might know. There's a group called Star Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, they started some Olufumi.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
All the millennials.
Yeah.
No, that's all.
So the producer, his name is McCoy.
Okay.
I used to be his manager.
Right.
You know, we had probably were childhood friends, so I ended up managing him because we attended the same church in Kaduna, St. Christopher's Anglican Church. Then I managed him, and at some point, I went on to start managing another record label called Dome Records. All this was happening while I was doing my first degree.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Alongside
that, yeah. So I managed a record label called Dome Records. I was the artist manager. And one of the artists I had on now, if you're watching this, she knows. Her name is Waje, W-A-J-E. She has a song.
I think I've heard of
you must have
that.
heard it. If you ask me, now who I go ask? She's amazing. She has one of the fantastic voices. Anybody can look her up. She was on that record label. So we had Bionic, we had Real McCoy, I had Chivago, and some other artists. And one of my high points in that job was that I organized what's called a talent hunt in 5 universities across the southeast of Nigeria. So I was on the plan. Throughout the plan, I went to source the venues. I went to source, did all the advertisement, did everything, and organized everything. I did it as a fresh undergraduate.
Wow.
I did all that.
Sounds amazing.
So then from there, we started growing, and I started getting a request from different groups. Like you might know the group called Brackets. They sang this song called Yeri Yeri.
Yeah.
At that time, they had some guy that used to manage them called Wachuku. He's the head of or the owner of Ape Records. You understand? So at that time, they were like I would say poaching me to manage them. You know, so I was neither here nor there. Then also I worked with the likes of Jay Martins. I don't know if you know Jay Martins.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you know him. He's the one that produced P Square's one of P Square's songs. Better like the way you do.
Yeah, of course.
He's the producer for that song.
Right.
And he produced some other songs for Jay Martins. He's a very good, prolific producer. So I was also in between managing them and managing him or not because he wanted me to manage him. But at that time, I just gave my life to Christ. You know, and there are some things that were happening in that industry that was I termed as my young faith, not godly or gonna affect me. So I was caught between fame and progress in the music industry and my faith and my relationship with God. You know, I'm not saying that there's anything that's wrong in working in the music industry, but at that time, if I went on continuously, maybe I won't be where I am today.
It wouldn't have been good for you because of where you were in your journey.
And those are the days where we had the likes of the band just making
blowing up,
with Mohit Records and so it was the early days. There was no Davido at that time.
Early Afrobeats.
Yes, there was no Davido. And I know if I went on, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'll be worse off or bad. Maybe by now we'll be brushing shoulders with the likes of the bands right now. Because by now we would have had so many artists because that was it. You know, we had people like Fino approach us then, working with my cousin, his name Chivago, getting close to us. Now Fino is big. So if I went on continuously, I know that perhaps would have done well there, because irrespective, God is a gracious God. You'd have still found a way to still make things work. But I've not dropped my music career dream. Yeah, we're going to get back to it, or get back to it in the right way.
Okay, so it's on hold for the time being. Okay, lots to unpack from that answer, and I have a couple of follow-up questions. You mentioned, or I'm aware of the fact that your dad went straight into business. Your dad is not someone that had extensive education. What do you think, I guess, influenced or shaped him to want you to have, not just an undergraduate degree, but also a master's and a PhD?
I think just like most Nigerian families, a lot of parents always wish their children to be a lot better than them.
True.
So I think it's also a true measure of success. Also, it is. I learned from Miles Monroe. The word father means legacy. So the best legacy a father can give to their children is education. Even if they don't give them money or anything. What's it called? Ben Carson, I don't think his mom gave him money, but she was not educated. She insisted. She couldn't even read, and every time they brought a book for her to read, she would always just give an excuse, not knowing that she could not read. It was one of the masters that she was working with that realized that she couldn't read and started helping her to read at old age with her children. So most parents from Nigeria want their children to be a lot better than them. At least, I would say most parents. So I think that was the same for my dad. And because of the situation of his own father, he didn't have the opportunity to go to school early. He had the option to go to school, like what he said. His father sent him money for an entrance exam into school from a school. You can imagine his father was blind, but sending him money to go to school.
That circumstance.
And he said that he had the option. If he wrote the entrance exam, he'll pass. Then who will pay the tuition? So he used that money to do something else, went into business. So that was my dad's passion, to see us do better, to leave a good legacy, and to move on. I think that's what drives him. But for some people it might be competition, but my own case is not competition.
That's interesting. And the other thing I wanted to ask is, you made some impressive strides in the music industry, and as you said, if you had carried on in that industry, you probably would have made, like you said, probably ended up managing some of the most well-known artists, but you made a decision that it wasn't the right path for you because, of the value that you placed on your faith. So now, when you made that decision, what were the other opportunities you pursued? And how would you summarize what your career experience is now? So given, you graduated from university, let's say around 15 years ago, how would you describe what you do to your audience?
I made that decision, like I mentioned to you, because for faith reasons, because I think it was early days for me becoming a Christian, So, and some of the things that were going on, the clubs, the nightlife, the babes that were around the artists and everything, it was not healthy for me.
No.
And you can't be saying that and still at the same time be fervent as a Christian, So, without due respect to them. So I had made a decision to do what I was doing. What did I start doing there? Just live my normal life. Finish my National Youth Corps, went to do my master's degree. Just normal life I lived. But despite that I was doing that normal life, I still had other things going on for me. For instance, 2008, when I was supposed to come to UK, I started a motivational training, what I call a social enterprise in Nigeria, called Posh Potters Workshop. So basically what we did was we go to secondary schools and train teachers and students, So because, the academic, without respect to the curriculum that we use in Nigeria and quite a lot of African countries, it doesn't necessarily teach you some of the things that is required in addition, even in the UK, without due respect. It doesn't necessarily teach you some things that they require to become more successful. So just having academic knowledge is not enough to be a successful person. And also reminding the teachers the role they play as teachers, So it was very profound, and I'm sure the studio were able to put up scenes of those stuff. So I did that, and also came up with an idea of Posh Apprentice, that's encouraging parents, instead of pushing your children to university, let them do an apprenticeship, so that it will add value to them. Because knowing fully well, unlike in the UK, there are so many options. If you don't go if you don't go to uni, you do apprenticeship. If you don't go to apprenticeship, one thing or the other. But Nigeria is not. It's either education or nothing. You understand? So, or maybe you go, and the gap between the low jobs and the high jobs is too much. Unlike UK, you could start working in a factory, and after a while, maybe you can, and the pay might be a bit decent. You get one. It's different in Nigeria. To pay for a laborer job is very, 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 very low and very difficult job. So getting an apprenticeship is like an in-between. So it's knowing how to sew and what have you, it will help them. So I did that, and I also did in my community in Iswara precisely, we also did youth engagement programs, health work, have talk shows, different stuff. So in spite of me not doing the music stuff, I did not sit idle, because it also helped me to discover myself more. And I also put into practice. That was even before I came to the UK. And then when I came to UK for master's degree, then I started doing studying. Then I work with young students as well. I campus fellowship. Held them together. Then before that, and after that, I moved back to Nigeria, 2011 or 12. I can't remember precisely. Then I was working in Nigeria as well with my dad. Then quit just before I got married, 2013. Then after I got married, then I just saw myself here. I did not jack my I did not. I always say to teenagers, because it's not to say that, without due respect to those that came here for economic reasons. I didn't come for economic reasons. I came because of my wife, not knowing that there were restrictions to my visa. So I ended up having to obey those restrictions. And here I am. But all things work together for good. That's how I see it.
That's interesting. I mean, if it sounds like you're a multi-talented, multi-skilled person. You've done music, you've done a lot of youth engagement programs. You're an entrepreneur. You studied. I think that probably traces back to your family origins. Your dad being a businessman, you worked for him, and I can't imagine the amounts that you learned from him. And it's a diverse set of skills and experiences that you have, and a consistent theme around the answers you gave was anything you found doing or any opportunity you saw, you pursued it. So I'd like to move on to the next question now, which I think really could help us understand why you are that person or you are that way. What motivates you?
I think what motivates me is because I'm a Christian, and one of the focal person being a Christian is Jesus Christ. And one of the things that keeps him going is selflessness. So what motivates me is selflessness. Nice. A true mark of a Christian is selflessness. Thinking of others first before you think of yourself. So I think that motivates me. That's why the reason why I've done everything I've done. Both when I was teaching in the schools or when I was training, all this stuff. Even up to now, I've worked in the same department with you in church, Teens Church, for 15 years now. You understand? So I've done Teens Church, worked with teenagers for 15 years, selfless. Even when I know that they can post me to other departments, I just say to them, please just leave me here, because of I didn't have a good growing up as a teenager. I want to be there for other teenagers to get it. So that's what motivates me, being a blessing to people. And that's actually the true mark of a man's legacy. What do people remember you for? I remember the words of Pastor Paul Anenche. This was Imomia, Pastor Mrs. Mary Abiye's birthday, 2013. I think we just got married that time, Christmas, 26th of December. I was sitting down in Winners Chapel in Goshen City in Nasarawa State. And Pastor Paul went up on this altar, and he was the one to preach in her birthday. And he said one of the first lines of what he said was that many are dead, but they'll never be forgotten. But some are alive, and they'll never be remembered. That thing just struck me. So as in, like, what are you existing for? What's the essence of it? What's the point? If you just come and just breathe, once in my secondary school, they write to say Tunde was here. I don't want to write I was here. There should be something that there's so many places you go to in England and there are statues and monuments. Even in London, you see so person lived here. That's the kind of person I want to be.
Amazing.
Understand?
That's an amazing way to look at life. So what I take away from that is your faith is really what motivates you, and that's expressed through selflessness and serving others. And I was going to say that a lot of the examples of the initiatives that you said you'd set up following the music business really exemplified, service and just wanted to make, advance other people, in terms of their skills, in terms of their mindset, in terms of the opportunities that they could access. That's amazing. Who would you describe as who would you name as the greatest influences of your life, or in your life rather?
I think my father.
Yeah.
One.
That's not a surprise. You've mentioned him a few times. Yeah.
My dad, even up to now. Bishop Oyedepo. I'll say 50-50. Pastor Bishop Abiye and Pastor Mrs. Abiye. 50-50.
And can you say like a consistent theme across all of these people, rather than going through each person? What is something consistent amongst all their lives that has had an impact on you? Is it too detailed to summarize into one theme?
I think my dad is just knowing fully from nothing to something.
Okay.
So keep me going. If you can make it, what's the excuse I have to fail?
Yeah.
And I always say that to teenagers. Then for Bishop Oyedepo, it's just what God has used him to do in Nigeria and Africa and the rest of the world. Today I was just looking at one of the pamphlets in church, and Winners Chapel is 24 European countries. I never knew, even Russia. So to see how, I don't know if you've ever been to Canaan land before. When I stepped my foot in Canaan land, to precise in Ottawa State, and I stepped my foot, people can look you up. It has the largest auditorium in the world, Guinness Book of Record. And they are building another one that's much bigger than that. I don't know if any other one has beat it, but as of 1999, it made the Guinness Book of Record of the largest auditorium in the world. So church auditorium. I don't think stadium. So and now they're building another one that's bigger than that one. Just coming into Canaan land, there's a city on its own in a country like Nigeria with all the challenges, made me know that nothing is impossible. So it kind of broke the glass limit of anything that was there. For Bishop Abiye, it was in my early days of growing up, and I learned a lot from the things he shared on the altar for every time I went there. Then Pastor Mrs. Mary Abiye, because I worked closely with her, so I learned a lot. But one last person I want to mention is his name is Pastor Engineer Onyekwelu.
Right.
So.
What is it? Is it a well-known person, or just someone
someone that is my mentor? Growing up as not a teenager, but a young adult, God used him immensely to help bless my life. And I'm not saying that I know other people, but on the top of my head, there are people that I would say that had so much influence. And by saying my dad, I also say my mom as well. So
give credit to the woman.
Obviously, my mom's case is. My mom is, I don't want to say...
That's a whole nother podcast episode.
Yeah, she's
amazing.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So we're going to shift gears a bit now into this Love Family podcast.
Oh, thank you.
We're going to talk a bit more about, what the audience can expect. Why did you create a platform such as this? And just really get the audience excited for what they can expect to see. So first question, on that front is, what inspired you to create a platform like this?
What inspired me to create a family like this is because there are attacks on families. I read a book called New World Order, and if you look at the chapters, I maybe you can put it up on the screen. If you look at the chapters, it wasn't written by a Christian.
Right.
If you look at the chapters, you'll see there's a place where it says the attack on the family. So there's an institutional plan to destroy families.
Right.
Then also the LGBT movement. Is I see it as an attack on traditional families. Whilst I respect whoever people's choices and whatever they want to do, however they want to do it, but I'm also concerned that they're stepping over their boundaries and they're not going on. It's now saying as if you're a traditional family, then you're now like what I call it, a villain or something like that. So there's an attack on families, and it's really, 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 really disturbing stuff to the point that some people get into marriage 3 years, 5 years is broken. It's broken down. So the need to have a love family podcast where topics that families are faced with are discussed, so that families will be more aware, and also so that there's more content out there for families. If you're looking on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and what have you, and you're scrolling through reels, there's more of things that are not helpful to people than things that are helpful to people. And that's one of the things I gave back to.
That's very interesting. So passion is born out of the fact that you've seen around, and I'm assuming both around you and also publicly, the breakdown of family, the impact it's having on individuals and their children. And also, as you said, there aren't that many, platforms that address family matters. So you've, identified that there's a gap in this area and you want to do something about it, which is very interesting. So in terms of how you're going to execute that, is it going to be, podcast? Well, I guess it's going to be a podcast, right? But tell us a little bit more about how you plan to use Love Family, podcast to share more, insights and perspectives, and I'm assuming solutions as well on how families can become more knitted. What is the approach you're taking?
I think the approach I'm taking is, first is that you can't give what you don't have. So it's that this will be a platform for my wife and I to share the things that that's working for us. Because over time we found out that people, families or young couples, or they would come to us because by the grace of God, we're married for 11 years now. So
Amazing.
Yeah, and still counting, and it looks as if it was yesterday. So we have couples come and they by the grace of God, I don't know what they see in our relationship, and they come to ask us, how is it working? These are our challenges. They sit on this dining table, and so we have conversations, healthy conversations, and every time we leave, we learn and they learn. So that's what gave back to it. My wife and I will keep doing what we're doing, and also through bringing other people like you and other people, to come on this platform to share the things that they know on different topics. Like we have people talk about properties. I had my dad as well, and we're going to have other people talk about work-life balance, different topics. So, but we believe that by those different topics, touching different areas that affect different families, hopefully, families are learning. It's not like there'll be like a magic wand and everything stops happening, but gradually there's more content out there that is healthy and helping towards families, towards keeping fathers at home, towards keeping families there together, towards having less baby single mothers, towards having more fathers that are responsible, towards keeping men out of jail, towards keeping our family, towards having more transgenerational wealth, transferred from one generation to another generation, and things like that, work-life balance, towards progressing in your career and having families progress in their career without jeopardizing your family, your life and family. So things like that and more, things we're discussing.
Sounds exciting. So basically, you're going to be drawing from your experience and the experiences of other people, and we're going to be seeing your wife more as a regular on the podcast, which is amazing. And it sounds like you're going to be bringing diverse kind of voices together. You're going to be tackling, healthy family life, but also, wealth and transgenerational impact. So you're going to be discussing lots of exciting things. Now, in terms of, your audience might then be wondering, and I think it's somewhat clear, but I think it's good for you to also clarify, who are you targeting? Who is the Love Family podcast for?
Yeah, it's important that in everything that you're doing, like I follow this guy called Pat Flynn. I learned a lot from him on podcasting and all that. He talks about niche. So with all due respect to other people that not mentioned, but doesn't mean they can't learn from them. But this podcast is targeted at Afro and Caribbean audience, families to be precise. So it doesn't mean that Latinos can learn from it, or Filipinos can learn from it, or Americans or Indians. They can all learn from it, but the target is Afro and Caribbean families or people. That's basically.
And that could be people that are married, people that are in families, like so single, married, and just everyone. And like as you said, the primary target is the African Caribbean. However, it's not, exclusive to these groups, and anyone can come and
So
learn.
we'll have audience. We can have guests from that are Caucasians. We can have guests that are Indians.
Can learn from
coming,
anyone.
but the most important thing is targeted at this community.
Okay, excellent. And so, what is the plan in terms of the content that you're going to be releasing? Can we expect to see content on a weekly basis? Is it going to be on a monthly basis? And what other I guess dispensations, for lack of a better word, are you going to be using to drive and to advance the Love Family podcast? So beyond the recordings, what else can people expect? Are there going to be events, for example, conferences?
Good question. Well, the plan is to have it on a weekly basis. So I'm still talking to the team to know exactly what the day. We need to put a date so our audience as well can look forward to it. So that's the plan. Going forward to that, we're going to be having some, maybe because the kind of logistics of getting everyone to come into the studio, for instance. So we might also be having street interviews as well. So short street interviews, people give you their opinions on different stuff. Also, we're going to be having annual programs. So more like a couples event or family events, depending. So with the hope that people can come, sit down in a conference or maybe 2 day or 3 day and learn a lot and soak up, and go home refreshed and with more vigor. So that's about it. Also looking to have a book club, still working on that, the modalities of that, because the more there's no limit to what someone can learn, and it's just about having a lifelong learning mentality, not learning to pass exams and all that. So part of the problems why families have the challenges they have is because of the lack of knowledge. Bible emphasizes on that a lot. So that's one of the things, and as we're open to other things as well that might come across it, because I know that like as relates to every other thing I'm into properties and a property manager and a property investor. So I didn't start from that, So I started from being a property manager, renting other people's property for business, and I ended up where I am now, buying properties and all that. So I also know that from that experience, I know that this podcast can lead on to so many other things, So so we're open to it and trust God for the best.
Very exciting, very exciting. And I was also going to ask, in terms of how people can watch content, get involved. Where are you? Where can we find Love Family Podcast?
The information, I don't know the right handles on all the socials.
But it's going to be put on the screen, right? Okay, so everything's going to be...
It should be on the screen as we speak right now. So we're all on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all the main podcast channels on Spotify and what have you. So we should all be there, and also on people's WhatsApp DMs and all the stuff. You can find us anywhere. Awesome. Anywhere you anywhere you do your podcast, anywhere you do your stuff.
That's exciting. That's exciting. And I guess final question, maybe if we say this time next year, so this time a year from now, what 3 main things would you have hoped, or do you wish now that the Love Family Podcast platform will have achieved?
I think that by a year's time, we would have I know that it will not get up to a year. We would have been entertaining testimonials from people.
Okay.
I know I don't want to say I know there's going to be a lot of work, but I'm open for it. Because the most important thing is, like I said to you, is being selfless and helping people.
Yeah.
I know that it would have had a lot of impact because of my understanding of what's called the slight edge, about doing something small continuously, and it all adds up to a ripple effect. So I know that that's it. The most important thing is seeing people's lives and families transformed. That's the most important thing. That's what underlines everything that I do. So even as working with teenagers, a couple of years back, I was just sitting down in church and some teenager came and tapped me. I said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I said to her, "How come? What are you doing here?" I said, "Oh, I'm fine. Can you remember me? I said, why not? I don't remember you. Oh, look at my husband. She was unmarried.
Oh, that's
She had children. You understand? And it was amazing. You know, the fact that the little things that by the grace of God, not my power, by the grace of Christ that I've been doing, has turned out to someone being that great. I'm not the only one that can take credit for her. And that's why I'm interested in that. A family that is about to break becomes knitted. That will be the take home for me. A family that has been separated for maybe 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, I've come back together. There's a single mother that is struggling alone on taking care of her children and like about to throw in the towel, whatever they become, will gain more energy to know that if Ben Cancer's mom can do it, then she can do it. You understand? So those are things that I'll be more interested in. Those kind of testimonies that of saying that this content indeed is of immense contribution or blessing to the community. That's what I would class as achievement or whatever, if I use that word.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And yeah, with the passion and the vigor you've shown throughout this interview, I'm positive and confident that you will see all of those and even more. It's been really great speaking to you. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming.
To host you.
And by the way, she has her own podcast, and I think they'll put it up in STEM, right?
Blog.
STEM blog. Yeah, it's amazing. So you guys should check that out as well, and also check out and her private one. Her name is
no, not divulging that. No,
I should not say that one. Oh, but from your this is
not divulging. No, we're not divulging.
Okay. Anyways, thank you very much for having
me, guys,
and having her. And I hope you guys have learned very well. And as we always say, stay knitted together. Stay family oriented, irrespective of the challenges. You know, we can do this. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Bye bye.